You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Well, let's continue our journey through creepy creatures, and I want to get to vampires. And I've heard you tell this story about I don't want to get too deep into it. I'll let you get to the highlights, because I know it's a long story, but if you could tell us the highlights of what this gentleman went through with this desert cult.
It's wild, man. It's wild. In fact, I just got a text message from him today because the member episode I released today has to do with him. I actually contacted an ex-satanic high wizard about this guy's story to see what's possible in the world of black magic. And there's like, I asked him for his newsletter. I'm like, did you get the newsletter yet? Is there anything new and updated? I need to know some information. But so this guy James contacted me, and he had his story, and I'm going to try my best to summarize it. And me summarizing it is going to be me leaving out a lot of details. This is an over 3-hour conversation where there was no break. It was
go listen to the episode, everyone.
Yeah. Episode 512, Desert Portal Death Cult is what it's called. And it's just a constant barrage of information. So I'm going to do my best to summarize it. And if it doesn't make sense, just trust me, listen to the episode. It will make more sense. And I promise you, it is at least the second most amazing episode I've ever put out. People argue that it might be number one above the Secret Military Knocking Technology one. So James contacts me, and he's in the movie industry. He used to be in Atlanta, and then he moved to LA to further his career. And this happened, I believe, in 2021 when he moved. He goes out there, and shortly after he's out there, he's out at a bar with his roommate, and they're drinking, having a good time. Say it's a Friday. I think it was a Friday night. His roommate goes to the bathroom, and while he's gone, this other guy comes up to the table and just starts talking with him, befriends him, and they just start hanging out. And then his roommate comes back, they're all talking. It gets late, they decide to leave, and this new friend of theirs, I believe his name is Mark or something, we'll just call him Mark for this story. He says, hey, there's this other place that I love going to. You guys want to come? They're like, yeah, sure, we'll go. So it's late at night now. They run up to this new place, and immediately it seemed off. And his roommate, James's roommate, said, dude, I'm not going in there. There's like all these goth people walking in. He's like, it's not my scene, man. Like, I am not going in there. I'm scared. And so he says, I'm going home. And so James is like, all right, man, I'll see you later. I'm going to go in. I think these people, what harm could it do? And so he goes in, and he talks about the inside and stuff and what he saw. And it was weird, but it's what you would expect with the goth community. Like if you're not used to it, you're not from it and stuff, you might be a little spooked out. The night goes on, it gets pretty late. Let's just say it was 3 o'clock in the morning now, 4 o'clock in the morning. They leave the bar, and this new guy, Mark, his new friend, just says, I'll drive you home. And so they're heading home, and on the way, Mark gets a text message about a party in the desert in Joshua Tree. And so he goes to James, hey, I really want to go to this party out in the desert. You want to come? And James is like, nah, man, I just want to go home. I'm tired. And long story short, Mark convinces James to agree to go out to Joshua Tree. So they drive hours out to Joshua Tree. They get out there early Saturday morning. The party's over for the night, but it's an entire weekend of a rave. And so they hang out during the day waiting for nighttime to come. When they get there, shortly after they get there, a guy in a Mad Hatter hat comes over and gives James a bracelet and says, you're VIP. And that kind of strikes you as odd because James wasn't even planning on being there. He didn't buy tickets. Nobody knew James. And all of a sudden, James is VIP. And looking back on it, it's like they were marking James as somebody who's not part of the in crowd at this place. And so he goes through the day, and things kind of, it's a different kind of day. Nothing too crazy, but, it is what it is. James seems like the kind of guy who goes with the flow and likes experiencing life. He's very much not like me. I like living my life. I want to know what every hour holds. I want to have it all planned out. And he's just like, hey, let's just see what happens, And so he's going through his day. And at one point he meets this one guy who a really nice guy, and he's like, hey man, here's an extra bed, this is your bed, you can sleep on it anytime you need to sleep, this is your spot right here, it's all yours. Thanks, man. Nice guy. He runs into another girl, and she's kind of like upset and crying, and she's like, I don't want to be here when nighttime comes. And he's like, why what's nighttime? She's just like shaking back and forth, like, I don't want to be here. He has no idea what happened to this girl, by the way. He looked her up after he got out of this situation. He did find her one point, but he can't remember what her Instagram was. But he goes through his day. That's odd. And what really kind of started shifting gears is in the afternoon, he needs to go to the bathroom, and there's a porta potty there. And he goes into the porta potty and he takes a leak. He's not in there long. He comes back out, and he said, this is the first thing he noticed that was weird. He comes out of the porta potty and he looks around, and there's an obvious change in the amount of people in this area. Like, it's like all of a sudden there's a lot more people here. And he kind of thought that was really strange. And to be honest with you, as you hear the story, I did venture with the idea of calling the episode the Porta Potty Portal. But I thought it sounded great, but I didn't know if people would take it as serious as I needed them to take it. We go through this day, and nothing really crazy happens, but then the party starts. And you know, he said that during the day, people were saying, oh, wait till the twins get here. And apparently the twins were these really famous DJs. And I've had people looking up different DJs that were twins, trying to ask if these were the people. And I would send it to James, and he's never confirmed that any of the DJs that I have sent him were the twin DJs. And I'm like, how many twin DJs in the world can there be? So that right there tells me that maybe these twin DJs are more part of an underground, not mainstream network. And when you hear about the story, you're like, yeah, probably. So nighttime comes, the party kicks off, and he goes into this big tent where the rave is happening. And he said this is where things just really get weird for him. He starts seeing people who just look like vampires. They looked like they were demonically possessed. In fact, I think he even went as far as saying that he saw what he could only describe as demons around him. And he's like kind of freaking out a little bit, wondering if he's been slipped anything in his drink. He didn't think there was anything wrong with him as far as the physical nature goes. There's details that he shares in the episode that really pushed me in that direction of saying, you know, I don't think this guy had any drugs in his system. I know he didn't take any drugs, and he doesn't believe that anybody slipped him anything. If they did slip him anything, it would have had to be hours beforehand, and it would have to be a very delayed effect. So he starts looking around and starts seeing all these people. I mean, people with like, you know, fangs for teeth. And, you know, you can say that, hey, that's generated. Like that's fake teeth. People do weird things, rave, whatever. You know, it could be just some kind of weird LARPing vampire cult in the desert. And so he's just kind of getting freaked out. And he asks the guy, Mark, who's there, he's like, you know, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And the guy's just like, what? I can't hear you. Like, what? Like, just kind of playing dumb. And eventually it got to the point where he had to get out of there, and he leaves the tent.
Didn't he say that there were like children running at extremely fast speeds around him, like leaving tracers and stuff?
Yes. So my life is so weird that's minor to me. So, like the stories I hear, I'm like, yeah, of course, people running superhuman speed, like that happens all the time, right? Guys, right? You know, like,
yeah. Every day.
So he did say that. The first time I ever heard somebody doing the superhuman speed, I think I've talked about this story on your show, and I will be releasing this story soon. It's the whole interdimensional story with the guy going to other realms and stuff. I am very close to releasing that, and I'm very excited about that. And so he sees all that stuff, and thank you for and please feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting details, because I haven't even thought about this story in months right now. Right. I'm just recalling off the top of my head. So he leaves the tent, and he sees that guy that was really nice to him earlier, and he goes over, and the guy just pretty much didn't want anything to do with him. He's like, yo, man, I'm busy here, just, you know. And it's like, what do you mean busy? Like, we're at a party. Like what? We don't have jobs here, you know. Like, where are you punching in at? And then his friend comes over with another guy, and he starts talking to his friend about what he saw.